Thanks, brother. I'm not sure I should be allowed to have a microphone. Can we move this a little bit further over here? Public speaking number one, don't ever stand behind one of these unless you're a politician. It just puts a barrier between you and the audience, you know? People put their hands together too. I'm not here to talk to you about public speaking today, though. Andy, that was a new word, thunder. I just said I was going to bring the thunder. I wasn't like thunder. I feel like one of the seven dwarfs now, like the eighth one. It's gonna bring the thunder. Well, he hit me up yesterday and he goes, we kind of, sometimes our crowd can get a little sleepy after lunch. I'm like, have we met? So it's my pleasure to be with you guys here. I love doing local stuff when I'm in town. I started off begging to do things like this 8 years ago. I would find guys like Andy or Andrew, Andy and Andrew. It's a new show. And I'd say, hey, listen, I'm starting the biggest, baddest show ever called Social Buzz TV, and I talk about social media. Maybe I can come talk to your group. And people kind of look at me like I got 10 heads and boogers. And eventually they would let me do that. And I was able to build my brand through begging people to let me get in front of their audience and speak to them. And I would set up a camera and I'd put together a video recap of the event, and I'd slowly but surely, whoever Shirley is, would start to build what is now Social Buzz TV. So let's back up a little bit. I want to talk to you today about storytelling with social media. So obviously I need to start things off with a story, right? So I was cast for a reality box like 4 years ago. And I had to fly to New York to meet with the executive producers for the day. And how Hollywood works is two ways. Number one, very, very fast. So keep Thursday to Monday open because you might be going to New York to meet with the executive producers, right? And then you leave the next day. I get to New York, the meeting's 15 minutes long, and it's 10 o'clock in the morning. I'm all bow tied up, ready to rock and roll. It's a beautiful day in the city. I get done with the meeting, and like any tourist would do, wander over to Times Square. And I am standing in the advertising mecca of the world, and everyone's looking down at their phones. Now, remind you, this is so social media is just starting to do, but people are still looking down at their phones, and I thought, wow, brands are spending billions of dollars to be seen in the advertising mecca of the world, Times Square, and no one's really looking at the advertisements because they're looking at the new billboard. And I stopped and I thought to myself, wow, Sebastian, we are in the midst of an incredible shift in the way we communicate. The way things have been done in the past will never be done again. That ship has sailed. You will never get a beep on your beeper again. You will never be looking for the biggest, baddest, robust fax machine ever. It's just not going to happen. That ship has sailed. Now, the adoption rate, sir, that's a camera. You got your arm in front of, sir? Your camera, that's a camera right there. It's Facebook right here. You're probably looking at me like I'm crazy. I'm gonna tell you what I'm gonna do with this video after I'm done with it. So as I stand there, I'm mind-boggled because I had just started Social Buzz TV. I had just committed to a reality show with 30 women on Fox with George Lopez. I'm like, is there roses involved? I really didn't know what was going on, but I took this adventure out to Hollywood over the course of 2 months. It was the hardest $250 I've ever earned in my entire life, but I did it for one reason. One of my mentors, who I'm yet to meet yet, but I believe we're going to have a deal together one day, is Ryan Seacrest. I believe the guy's game is absolutely impeccable. His career has spoken for itself. He runs Hollywood, and he has replaced the greats. You name it, Dick Clark, Casey Kasem, he's just done it. And I studied him for the past 8 years, literally on TiVo with American Idol. Remember TiVo? DVRs, rewind, play, rewind, play. I wanted to know what it was like to be on a primetime show on a major network and a prime time slot, 9 p.m. on Thursday, on a major network. And I was able to accomplish that. And a couple things I realized. Those studios are freezing. I have never sweated more and frozen at the same time simultaneously, number one. Number two, the entire experience of it, they flew my daughter out. They want to tell the story of what you're doing when you're not trying to find love on national television. So we're able to do that in the whole experience of it. So I knew from a personal branding perspective, I've been on Fox. Check plus on that, and we'll get back to that. Came back to reality and continued to build my brand of Social Buzz TV. Started in 2010. Lost everything in the market. Everybody familiar with that recession that happened back in 2008? I moved back to Miami from Southern California with a duffel bag and my daughter. And I thought, well, this is where we start over. And for 2 years, from 2008 to 2010, I just felt sorry for myself and was at a pity party that no one was invited to. And then one day I just woke up and had this Tony Robbins moment where I'm like, out of my way. We're going to awaken the giant within. So that's exactly what I did. I called my friend who was working for Tony at the time, and she filled me in on his upcoming summer Unleash the Power Within event in Long Beach, California. And I was like, I'm in. LBC, here I come. How am I going to pay for this? I don't know, but I committed to it. It's out there. It's on the board. We're going. And she said, hey, I want to introduce you to a friend of mine that works with Tony, and he travels with him. She travels with him on a consistent basis. Great. And I showed her a YouTube video that I created for my consulting business on my laptop back in 2010. And it was terrible in my opinion, but to her, she thought it was fantastic because she goes, oh my God, your energy was outstanding. I think you'd have 1 million followers. You have to start a YouTube show. And I'm like, all right, well, let's get together and see how we can help each other or just be a point of contact, etc. So we got together later that week and continued to have the conversation of, okay, what's next? Because I found myself answering the question when people say, Sebastian, what do you do? Back in 2009, like, what do you do? And I'm like, nothing. I do nothing. Like I was at the top of the mountain, I'm back down, I lost it all, and I'm kind of feeling sorry for myself. So I'm open to what's next. But I was coming out of it when I met this individual, and we started to have this conversation. She's like, there's a lot of buzz around social media. You've been in the social media space, like screwing around on MySpace since 2004. That makes you a pioneer. You've got to figure out a way to monetize this. And I go, yeah, there's a lot of buzz around social media, social buzz, a TV show, social buzz TV. That's it. I sent those 3 words to a freelance designer, and 3 days later, he came back with what is now the Social Buzz TV logo. So I'm like, yes, I don't have a car, I don't have any money, but I've got a logo, and I've got an undying desire to get back to the top of the mountain, and I'm gonna do it with social media because I know more than most. So I started running around town, just like I mentioned before, showing up with a little flip cam and saying, hey, if you let me in, I'll do a video recap with my flip cam, and then I'll give it to you for free, and then you just tell everybody that's here about me and everybody in your network, and then that's our arrangement. And people were like, okay. So they either called security or they let me in. Eventually I thought, well, how hard is it to do these networking events? So I went over to Morton's in Coral Gables, and I knew the event girl at the time, and I said, hey, listen, I don't know a lot of people, but I know some people, and this whole networking thing seems to be picking up in Miami, and I think I can do a networking event. It's gonna be called the Gable Buzz Networker, brought to you by Social. And I'm gonna bring 30 to 50 people here, right on this like cute little patio outside at Morton's. I go, I'm gonna bring them here on a Monday night when this place is dead. And my people will meet your people. All I need from you is a cocktail and some appetizers. 1 free cocktail and past appetizers. Nobody in Miami has 1 drink. So they agreed. I said, I also need the room upstairs because I wanna bring everybody back a day later to host a social media boot camp. So you met me in an event or you came to one of my networking events. I invited you to my boot camp. It's 2010, 11-ish. You're starting to go, maybe this Facebook thingy isn't going anywhere and I need to do something. So the conversation started of, hey, Sebastian, I met you at your event. I met you at a networking event. Maybe you can help me out with my social media. So I thought, well, maybe I can. They're like, well, how much is it to set up a Facebook page? And I'm like, $200. Didn't know what I was doing. I was mind-boggled with the fact that someone would compensate me to do so. So I got serious about this and said, you know, I really believe that this is the future, this is where it's at. And in November of 2011, I opened the Social Buzz TV agency. And later that year, about 6 months in, I finally figured out what my business was, because I started out with no money, no revenue stream, and no clue what I was gonna do. I just knew a couple things. Number one, if you play the part long enough, I guarantee you that you become the part. I'm living proof, number one. Number two, it takes longer than you think. That's the bit of advice there. So as I continued to conceptualize this and get serious about what the agency looked like, I thought, well, we're living in a different space now because I don't want just a digital agency. Social Buzz TV is far more than that. And they're like, really? I've never heard of it. I'm like, it is, I promise. So I worked with a branding specialist who's a dear friend of mine that I went to middle school with in Kendall. And she called me one day and she said, hey, Sebastian, what about Social Buzz TV as an integrated marketing solution that helps businesses and brands create celebrity and buzz around the content they're creating? And then I go, yeah. And then we'll throw me in as the category of one as the celebrity spokesperson for the local guy, right? We'll create their content, we'll manage their social media, and then I'll go share all their content as their mini Ryan Seacrest, right? We'll mimic that because the local guy probably is not gonna be able to hire a celebrity spokesperson. She goes, you nailed it. And that mission statement of what Social Buzz TV is has stuck to this day and become a reality as Social Buzz TV is a three-part. We are an online media company, publishing company. We create content. We've got an agency that helps businesses and brands just like yours launch podcasts and create buzz videos for Facebook and for YouTube. And then we act as just new media. So anything hot going in town, when NBC and Deco Drive and everybody else is there, who else is there on the red carpet with their bow tie? This guy. I don't wear bow ties in June, my apologies. And plus we're really blowing up the podcast launch lab right now. So he said walking billboard, he was not lying. So we fast forward to where we're at right now, present day, that was 2011. We're here 7 years later. What I found was, whoa, not only did I build a multi-layered brand, but I was able to build my personal brand, like the Sebastian Rusk brand. The keynote speaker, event MC, brand personality, influencer, and consultant, knowing what more. So what's happened, those two have come together, and the reason I'm sharing this with you is that if you have a job that you may feel is comfortable and the pay is awesome, but your boss doesn't get it, it's time to build a personal brand. It may even be time to just quit and launch a personal. There's never been a more exciting time to be alive. I don't care what you say or how you say it. You've never been over to order shampoo by voice while you're in the shower, ever. And that's where we're at. This whole voice thing is not going anywhere. It's here to stay. My good friend Gary Vaynerchuk said, social media is overthrowing governments in the Middle East. So you really have the audacity to think it's not affecting your business? And some people, my B&I members in my chapter think that's a little abrasive, Russ. This whole sucks thing, and if I'm not in the game, then I'm not in business. I've been in business and not just my B&I members, I get that conversation a lot, because I get it. You've been in business since I've been knee-high to a Girl Scout, some of you. I got it. And you haven't needed this stuff. But there was a point in time you didn't need a fax machine either. Right? It's that initial, we realize this stuff's 15 years old, so if you're just now getting on board, you're like an early adopter still. Riddle me that one. It's been around for 15 years. You're just now getting on board with a Facebook and an Instagram strategy, and you're an early adopter. Let's take it a step further. Raise your hand if you've ever placed a Facebook ad or boosted Facebook. Okay. That entire ad market. Okay, and raise your hand if you remember Facebook in the free days for business. Post something on your business page, ridiculous engagement, all kinds of sharing, just it's awesome. You're like, wow, this is wide open. It's the wild, wild west. And then what happened? Well, the Facebook ad platform came out by design. That's the way that it was. Try it for free for a little while. And then we're going to come in and we're going to show you how we actually monetize our business and what Facebook is all about. Facebook is an advertising company, right? So right now, as big as the advertising platform is, and as much as large brands are taking that whole 25% marketing budget and really just diverting the entire thing over to digital, while that's still happening, Facebook ads are still grossly, make sure this plane lands. Facebook ads are grossly underpriced right now. Your brain might automatically go, great, so we're headed to an expensive CPM. Yeah, we totally are, but the reason I tell you this now is that's not the case. Why? Because large brands haven't gone all in yet. So what does that mean? Well, these digital Facebook and Instagram level the playing field for the little guys and the big guys. And I don't know who's little and who's big in this room, but we know the comparison of small business and large business. If you're not making a focused effort on creating content to tell the story of your brand and then boosting it for $10 to reach 5 to 1,000 people. Did you hear what I said? $10 to reach 1,000 people. Do you know what that CPM is? If you're spending money on traditional media, no harm done to community newspapers, because I don't know what the hell is going to happen with newspapers, but I did have a conversation with the Miami Herald a couple months back, and it's interesting to see how they've really started to adapt to the times, and their online platform and their online ad space and everything they're doing is somewhat innovative. And some people do like to wake up on a Sunday morning, put their house coat on, shuffle out to the end of the driveway, pick up a newspaper, come back in and turn the pages and read it. I totally get that. So print advertising may have some longevity to it. I don't know, maybe not. But I think that where the billboard is your Facebook newsfeed. Right? I said originally everyone 5 years ago was looking down at their phones in Times Square. Could you imagine what they're doing now? Let me break it down for you real quick. We are digitally addicted, hooked like a crackhead to technology and a digital strategy and our devices. The average, statistics will tell us the average human being is no more than 3.5 feet away from their phone at any given time. 3.5 feet. And here's how it goes. We post something, and we sit, and we wait for that first like or comment that gives us this shot of dopamine that goes right to our brain. Bam! It goes, man, I'm awesome. Just ask me. Did you see my post? It's the world that we're living in. Well, what the heck does that have to do with my business or my brand? Well, here's exactly what it has to do with it. Every business has a story. Why? Because if it's, how many business owners, you own the place, you the boss in the room, okay? You conceptualize this crazy idea to launch a business and a brand. You've now done it, and guess where that story began? With you. You created the story because you are the story. Let's take it a step further. People aren't just doing business with who they know, like, and trust. They're doing business with who they follow, like, and trust. It's not just the I know him type deal. And let's take it one step further than that. We all judge everyone. All of us. Some do it vocally, most of us do it privately. And I speak openly about that because it's part of human nature, judging in some form or fashion. I like that car, I don't like that car. I like this salad, I didn't like this salad. I like the cheesecake, I didn't like the cheesecake. There's several different ways that we judge. But as consumers, I can assure you that if we have a choice whether to do business with a brand that has a digital strategy where we is looking at their pictures, following them on Instagram and Twitter, watching their live stream on Facebook, whatever the case is, versus the guy that's got the terrible website. It's really bad. It takes an hour to load, looks like it was built by their teenage cousin who's no longer a teenager, and it's just really, really bad. We're going to choose the one that seems to have their act together a little bit more in the digital space. Why? Because we want instant gratification as human beings. We're living in a binge watch, binge listen world. I'll pay $40 for a whatchamacallit bar if I can have it right now. And that's the world that we're living in. It's not just social media and Facebook though, and videos and podcasts. Podcasts are a vehicle for you to launch your brand when you're petrified of the camera. Podcasts are a great way for you to launch your brand digitally when you love media. But some people are more comfortable in front of a microphone than they are a camera. So I want to tell my story. What does that look like? Well, where did the story begin, dudette? Well, it was way back in 19 that I thought I was That's where the story began. Great. And what has taken place then? You just start to unpack what your story of your brand really is, and that's what we resonate with. Stories tell, facts sell. I really honestly believe that, but you have to make an emotional connection with people. You have to grab the Tarzan ropes of their heart and swing from them. And the only way that you can do that is to be authentically transparent by communicating what your story is as a brand. And I know this may blow your noodle. I mean, just like, what is this dude talking about? But you now have to create content and value for an audience and a community that may never buy from you, ever. Isn't that a rub? A little bit, right? Well, wait a second. If I'm investing into this Facebook thing, if I'm launching a podcast, we need the tit for tat. And I just think those days are gone. We drop 10 grand on a billboard, it brings back 15, and we rinse and repeat. I believe that ship has sailed. We're living in a place where we don't go to a restaurant, we don't go on a trip, we don't stay at a hotel, we don't go anywhere without a peer recommendation from somebody, whether it's online, whether it's a friend, family member, whatever the case may be. Storytelling is not difficult, and I don't want to make it sound like this is some brand new thing that just arrived. Storytelling has been around since the cavemen and cavewomen were putting hieroglyphics on the side of the cave wall, wearing a leather piece and rolling a concrete wheel around. Storytelling began in the early times, and it's always continued. Then radio came about, then print media, then television, and it made it a lot easier to tell your story. But my goodness, social media and the storytelling process. There's a lot of noise out there. So today I invite you to consider the idea of conceptualizing a unique story, unique to you and your brand, that's going to provide value to a community. Okay? Anybody familiar with the brand Columbia? They make outdoor shirts and outdoorsy stuff and the whole night. Okay, they created an app a few years ago to teach people how to tie knots. You don't know how to tie a square knot? They got you all squared away. They don't even sell rope. Are we clear about that? Do we see the comparison of what's happening there? Another example, Geek Squad, Best Buy's Geek Squad. Their entire YouTube strategy they rolled out about 4 years ago was telling them every single thing that those geeks do on a service call. They explained it all. This is your modem. This is the wire. This is how you attach it. My Wi-Fi is not working. Here's how you reset it. Here's how you reset it. They did everything. And somebody raised their hand. The guy that started Geek Squad was speaking at a conference in Palm Springs, raised his hand and he said, "Why are you giving away all of your secrets?" And he said, "Giving away all of my secrets? These people will never attempt to do any of these things. If anything, it secures the deal for the Geek Squad." Why? Because you get on and you're like, "I'm gonna go reset that damn router," and you're on it, and you're like, "Oh, okay, watch a video, I'm out, Geek Squad, get over here." That's the reality. That's where it goes. So it's about creating this amount of value where you like, if you want to launch a podcast, go to the podcastlaunchlab.com. See what I did there? And type in your name and email address. I'm going to give you a free ebook for the top 5 things you need to launch a podcast. And then I'm going to give you a 22-minute training that unpacks everything myself and my team does at the Podcast Launch Lab to launch a podcast. And you still won't launch a podcast. You know when you launch a podcast? When you hire our team to launch a podcast. Because you got some skin in the game, you're committed to it, and I won't leave you alone until you do it. That's just the reality of it. So I don't want to complicate storytelling. And if you think that, we don't do social media. Well, consumers are, and people that you do business with and prospects are going to start to say, well, we don't do business with people that don't do Facebook because we judge people. It's just what we do as human beings. It doesn't have to be a negative thing. It doesn't have to be something that's cynical. It's just a general judgment on where it's at. And I don't know about you, but I don't want to be judged because I go through enough judgment as an influencer on whether or not my following is strong enough to be able to be matched with a specific brand. Yeah, that's where we're at now these days, and we're weeding through. Is that person really an influencer? Are those 100,000 followers really real? Like, this is the world that I now live in, which is probably pretty foreign to you. Hiring an individual to take your product and talk about it constantly as a digital influencer. What? I keep going back to the celebrity spokesperson role that we've known forever and a day. That's what it's the most comparable to. If you're not able to tell the story of your brand, I have a client of mine told me this morning that his schedule's getting crazy, and being able to continue to do these buzz videos, he's going to have to figure something out. He wants his daughter to do it, but she's busy as well. And I said, "You sell insurance. You have scripts. I'm an on-air personality. Insurance is my game. Don't worry about the videos anymore. I got you, because I'm now Sebastian Rusk for your insurance company." So he looked at me and thought, "Oh, wow." And I made that up on the fly. I've done stuff like that before, but he's like, "I need somebody to do it." And as I'm running through my head, insurance, if it's something simple, my point is if you don't feel that you've got the wherewithal to execute a message on video, find someone to do it. There's someone available. You've got a good-looking relative. You've got somebody who works in your office. You have somebody that is really excited about what you do and really excited about social media. And if you don't like to do it, find someone who loves to do it. I hate missions, like, oh, such a Miami term. I'm on a mission, a mission, My sister loves missions. It makes her day to resolve a problem with grace and a smile. I mean, she's helped me out with my daughter, and she's an absolute angel, so I speak very fondly of her. Of course, she's my sister too, but she loves missions. I found someone who absolutely loves when it hits the fan to go, relax. I've got some bleach in a bucket, and we're all good to go. Feels good to do that. My point is, when you have something like, I need a digital strategy for my brand, and I don't know what to do, you need to find someone who knows what to do. Now, this isn't an integrated pitch so that you hire me. That's by default, duh. I'm just hanging out here. No, I want to be a living example for you guys to understand that, number one, you got a story in there. And if you don't know what that story is, maybe tap a little bit deeper into what are you passionate about, right? The bookstore owner, where's the bookstore owner at? You're passionate about the bookstore, right? She loves that Catholic bookstore. I actually want to go just check out the bookstore now. So she's got it, and I bet you that bookstore has some stories. Oh, wow. He'll be here all week, folks, twice on Sunday. So, we got 2 minutes here? We're winding things down? Okay. So, as I start to wind things down here, and it really helped you connect with what my message has been, I wanted to share my story. So number one, you know that anything's possible. You can build a brand from nothing. I learned to live with nothing. I literally built a brand from nothing. I had a bus pass and a skateboard, and a lot of friends with cars that wanted to be where I wanted to be. I wanted a car, and they wanted to be at the networking event that I wanted to be at. So they drove, I got them into the networking group, and we had a great relationship. And I continued to rinse and repeat that part, and I continued to play the part, and I became the part. I just believe that if you make enough noise, someone will come knock on your door. And that includes the police after 10 p.m. So, tough crowd. Wow, Andy, you were right. It's all good. I laugh at my own jokes. So somebody said after a talk a couple weeks ago, you know the best part I liked about your talk? I was like, what was it? He's like, you laugh at your own jokes. It's awesome. I'm going to laugh at my own jokes now. I'm like, all right, cool. Leaving the lasting imprint everywhere I go. So start thinking about, I want to get in your head. Anybody feel like you have your mindset shifted a little bit ever since they gave me the microphone? It just, I want you to walk out of here a little different, a little messed up, like a little like, oh, that kid got in my head. I want to be like 2 o'clock in the morning, you're up writing an idea down. I know what my story is. I won't launch a podcast. Watch me dump podcast, launchthat.com. I'm going to launch this. That's the goal. Because I'm not here to sugarcoat things and make things all rain and butterflies, that it's all fun and easy to create a strategy. It's not. It takes time, dedication, and effort to be able to go and do that. But you're not going to win the race unless you're in the race. And like the title of my books clearly states, social media sucks if you don't know what you're doing. And I'm working on my second one as we speak right now, which is podcasts suck if you don't have one. So the whole sucks thing, some people think it's kind of derogatory, but hey, I love Jesus, but I cuss a lot. All right, we got 1 minute left. Is that what's going on?
No, I have a question.
Oh, we got questions. Yes, absolutely. We got questions here. Yeah, let's do it. Let's do it.
All right, I'm into my name is Ernie, and I'm in the HVAC business. I'm a wholesale distributor, and I hear a lot of friends that tell me, Ernie, why don't you have a Facebook in what you do? Is because
what's an HVAC? Is that AC?
Yeah, it's
heating, yeah.
And they're deal with the public. So what exposure do I really get out there in Facebook and Instagram if I really can't deal with the end user?
You don't need the end user. I'd much rather deal with the guy that's dealing with the end user. We've got him already squared away. You are just pumping out units to whatever GCs need them and to buy them, right? So your message is, how do I create a message and a story to communicate to general contractors? Let's write I'm going to write my first 10 videos, my first 10 podcast episodes are going to be the top 10 frequently asked questions that I get from contractors about our heating AC solutions. That's the first thing I'm going to be able to do. And then there's some contractors that are so freaking big I can't get in front of them. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to invite them to be on my podcast, or I'm going to run out and I'm going to interview these people, and I'm going to have a conversation with them. And we're not going to talk about anything except for them and the biggest challenges that they have in their business pertaining to the solution that I provide. We're not going to talk about them buying my stuff. We're going to talk about them, because stroking people's egos is a great way to tap into those emotional strings that I talked about swinging on, and people are more inclined to go, you know what? I think it's time we set up a meeting, Andrew. Thanks again for having me on the show and stroking my ego and talking about how awesome I am. Because now I want to meet with you. You see the strategy behind that whole value? You're not going into that interview thinking that guy's going to sign up with you. So forget about those days. You sit here, I meet you, and if I met you today and I shook your hand and we haven't had a coffee or talk, you're not going to call me this afternoon with your credit card number. You're just not going to do it. You want to make sure that, hey, listen, he's a great speaker and everything, but let's make sure the pudding's the pudding, you know? And we're going to sit down, we're going to have a conversation, we're going to build a relationship. Maybe you got something funky and cool I can talk about that's buzzworthy and related, and we're going to grow our relationship, and you're going to make a conscious decision to do business with me. But you're going to first know that you know, like, and trust me. You're going to ask everybody that you know about me, etc. And everybody's going through that same vetting process. They really are. I'll end with this. When Elton John was a baby, his parents had no idea what he was going to become. So I ask you this, what's the ROI of a piano? To me, squat. To Elton John, $1 billion. Making that investment early on, not knowing where it's going to go. What's the ROI of a basketball for Michael Jordan? $1 billion. For me, can barely shoot like granny style. Squat. But early on, getting to basketball, getting out there, and getting down to the basics and the mechanics and growing into the sport and knowing that you were special, you had something there. Every single person in this room has a special and unique message that the world wants to hear. You are grossly negligent to hold that message inside because you're not the one listening to the message. The world is. So sit with that for a minute and see what shows up. That's my encouragement to you. It's what you look like on camera or what you sound like with the content you're creating. Get that out of your head. It's the unique gift that you're bringing to the world through your business. People want to hear about this stuff. Don't be negligent. And most importantly, don't let your competition come running by you 150 miles an hour and have them do it. And you're looking back at this talk 5 years from now going, shoulda, coulda, woulda. Tony Robbins says people are, I should be doing this, I should be doing that. People find themselves shoulding all over themselves instead of understanding I must do this. I really appreciate each of one of you being here today. Thank you so much for the invite and your attention. I think we ran out of time for questions. 20 minutes is tough to squeeze in a normal hour talk, but I'm going to hang out for a few minutes here. If you guys have any other questions, it's been my pleasure to be with you all. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Sebastian. Sebastian, come on back up. We have a gift for you.
Oh, I love prizes.
Here you go.
Thank you so much.
Pose for a picture.
Yes, absolutely. How about he's got the bow tie on? I love that. That's awesome. Wait, let's do this way because we got light with the crowd in the back. There we go.
Now you're making me work.
Well, there we go.
You're a great model today.
Thank you.
Hang on, let me do one more.
Wait, one more with the crowd. Here, I'm gonna do a little crazy one with the crowd. Hey, can everybody get in the picture with me? Just sit right where you're at. We're just gonna do a little. All right, let's do a crazy one real quick. Here, step over real quick. 2 seconds. I'm just gonna get a little crazy with the crowd. There we go. All right, come on, like hands in the air. Like, you guys have to go back to work. You know that, right? All right, cool. Let's just keep it real for a second. Ready? And then you guys can tag yourselves, and we'll share it, and we'll see what happens from there. All right? Are we ready, Karen?
Okay. There we go. Yay!
Thank you, guys. Thank you.
All right, let's give a big round of applause for Sebastian. Thanks so much for coming out today and talking to us. In a couple minutes, we're going to have a raffle, so if you've not put your business card in the business card raffle box, please raise your business card up in the air, and Sandra will